App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we are talking about why it makes so much sense and why it's so important to talk about getting exact detail, not close, not sort of, not kind of, but exact detail for exactly what you want to be built. Now, if you're building an app, it's almost like you're going on a treasure hunt, right? You want to find the treasure. Where's the treasure? If you got a map that said, hey, there's some treasure somewhere over there, roughly, right? How much time and energy are you going to spend looking and digging and trying to find this thing? You know, where is it? You know, should I try digging here? Should I try digging deep? Should I try digging behind the tree? Blah, 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 right? Whereas if you got a map that said exactly 10 feet this way, then take a left, then do 10 feet that way, then dig down 5 feet, and that's exactly where it is. And then as soon as you dig, and then clink, you hit the treasure chest and you're all good. That's the idea. Now, how much energy and time did you expend in that second scenario? This is the key. That in the second scenario, because you got so specific, because you got a map that was so specific, you were then able to find the treasure at minimum effort and most efficiently. So this is what it's like when you move into app development. When you try to get something developed, you are playing this same sort of game. Now, you know, instead of finding treasure, what you're going to end up with is an app that works, that can then bring you, money, or, save you time in your business or whatever it is. But ultimately, as you're trying to get there, you can take the long way around. You can take forever going back and forth with the developers. No, it needs to be like this. No, it needs to be like that. And then they try to build it, and then they kind of get close. And then you're kind of frustrated because you felt like they weren't listening, and there's miscommunication, and it's almost like you're trying to communicate with aliens when you're trying to say, like, no, this is how I want the thing built, and then it just doesn't get built that way. That's what it feels like sometimes when you're trying to move through development with an app. Now, if instead of going back and forth around in circles, trying to say, no, the treasure's over here, and then they say, well, we can't find the treasure's over here, you're going back and forth. Instead of doing that, if you can make sure that before they even start, that you have given them a completely clear set of basically rules to follow, instructions to follow, to give you back something that works a specific way and that functions a specific way, then what happens when you get it back is happiness. It's joy. It's, wow, this actually works. Wow, I'm actually moving forward with my dream here. Wow, I'm so glad that I put this into play. Versus the other way, if you're not clear, if you're not specific, then you end up with, wow, this is really frustrating. Wow, why am I wasting so much money and time on this? Wow, am I actually going to be able to finish this? Or am I just going to have to quit doing this because it's really annoying and it's wasting my time? So this is the kind of stuff that I've heard a million stories like this, and quite possibly either you've heard a story of a friend or somebody who's tried to get an app developed and it wasn't working, or it was really frustrating, or if you're in the unfortunate position to actually have the track record yourself to say, yes, this is me. I have tried to develop an app before, and that's exactly what it felt like. Regardless of whether you've heard the story or whether it's you who's actually had this story, it pays to get clear. And for any project that where something big is going to be built, when something's going to be built that has a lot of detail, it pays to just get clear on the detail, to not decide later about all the detail, but to decide now, to get clear now what needs to be built. And so, if you're about to build a house, for instance, you're not going to move forward if it's wishy-washy. You're not going to move forward if it's kind of like, we can design like half of the house and the other half of the house, I don't know, just kind of, put it up and just use your imagination. No way. There is no way that would happen because there's so much resource on the line. You don't have to tear down part of a house and put it back up again. That's a complete waste of resource. You don't want to have to rebuy the materials. You don't want to have to rebuy the time. Now, apps aren't as expensive as houses. At least most apps aren't anywhere near as close as expensive as houses. But there is a lot of detail, and there's a lot of easy ways that you can waste your money. And you don't have to. You don't have to waste your money. And so by going through a proper planning phase, by going through a proper discovery phase where you make sure you're really, opening, every door and looking under, looking in every closet and trying your best to really see, like, here's the whole framework of how everything will work. Here's how users will flow through the app. Here's the different pages. Here's the different functions that are going to run on the page. Here's how I'm going to be notified as an administrator, when something goes wrong or when something goes right, or who, somebody signs up and they do something and then I get a notification, or, I need to notify them, once a week that, blah, 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 this thing happened, and so I want to send them a notification to bring them back to the site. Whatever those decisions are, they need to be decided, right? They need to be chosen. And who better to decide than you as the founder, as the visionary? You're the one who has this information. But the developer is the one who's actually going to be building it. So you have to hook your brain to their fingers. And that's the difficulty. That's where it starts to become an expensive game of telephone, because in order to get it from your brain to their fingers, it's got to go from your brain to their brain and down to their fingers. And just going from brain to brain, that's the difficulty, that when you say something a certain way, you may not be using the terminology that they understand. You may not be saying it in a way that they fully understand, but if they aren't as good as they should be, then they might just say, oh, sure, you're sure, got it. Yeah, okay, great, we can build that. Yeah, no problem. Just pay the money and we'll build it. Because they're more focused on, hey, we need to get paid here. Hey, we need to build this thing. So, just say yes and, nod your head and just get the contract and let's do it. Now, it's not necessarily that they're unscrupulous. It's that some people are more detail-oriented than others, and some people are less detail-oriented than others. So if you happen to be connected with a developer that is less detail-oriented and, just kind of okay with taking your money and putting something up, then you are going to end up with something that is not going to match your vision, and it's going to be really frustrating. So regardless, now here's the deal, though. If you have a solid plan and you are clearly communicating everything that needs to be done, including the database structure, including all the page functions, everything, then even if the developer isn't super detail-oriented, then they should be good enough to follow a set of instructions. So this is kind of like, if you're building furniture from a set, right? So you get a set, you get instructions, and then you get all these pieces of wood. Let me speak for myself, right? I'm not a professional furniture builder, but I can follow instructions. So if it's explicit, if it's clear, here's piece A1, connect it to piece B1 using screw C5. Okay, I can do that. I can find screw C5 and I can connect A1 and B1. It's just explicit. There's no room for, maybe this or maybe that. There's no, grab a piece of wood and, grab a screw and let's, kind of try to put it together. Because there's lots of different ways that could be, configured. But if you get explicit instructions, then you end up in a place where, even if you're not, a super amazing furniture builder, you can still put this thing together and it should be done, pretty much 100% right. Now, there may be mistakes in that process, right? You may grab a wrong screw or this or that, or there may be some confusion. And I'm sure all of us have had that experience of, getting to the end of a furniture project and then realizing, oh no, I forgot a part and then having to take it apart and do it again. So yeah, mistakes are going to happen. But the idea is limiting mistakes, limiting failure. That you're not ending up with, somebody who is trying to build this thing and they're just kind of, guessing at this stuff. You're handing them this instruction set. You're handing them an instruction set saying, hey, for my app, I want you to connect piece A1 to piece B1 using screw C5. And then they can follow those instructions. There's no room for, kinda, sorta. At that point, they are just activating those instructions. So the one layer, the top layer, is this kind of vision into clear instructions. And then once you've got those clear instructions, then even if you give them to a developer who isn't, a rock star, they should still be able to get it done. And that's the trick. That's the trick, is that by taking time to, make sure that your instructions are super clear, that no longer do you have to just cross your fingers and hope they're going to make the right thing. You're giving them the instructions. You're giving them the furniture set plus the, well thought out instructions. You're not giving them a furniture set, with no instructions. And you're not giving them a furniture set with kinda, sort of instructions. I think we've all dealt with that too, where we get instructions and we're like, what the heck are they talking about? Where is that piece? Who made these instructions? This is so confusing. What's going on? We've all had that experience trying to build furniture from pieces together, and just there's some instructions that are just like, what? This is not clear. Who put this together? And so now as you step into this new world where you want to get an app built, and you want to make sure that you're asking for the right thing, and you want to make sure that you don't waste your money, the more explicit, the more clear you are making your instructions, the better result you're going to have. So please, as you're moving forward, make sure that you get that instruction set solid first. And once you go through that planning phase, discovery phase, then move into development. Now, if you'd like help doing this, if you say, I'm not technical, I've got the vision, but I don't know how to get this down into a clear instruction set, DM me, S.A.Playbook on Instagram, or email me at questions@saplaybook.com. So glad to have you here. I'll see you tomorrow.